The Melbourne Storm are one of the most dominant franchises, not just Australian sport, but in world sport. However, after their dramatic finals loss to the Penrith Panthers and now this off-season of controversy, it is shaping up to be Craig Bellamy's biggest task yet. For the first time, it finally feels like the big three are a distance away from this Melbourne Storm side, and they're going to have to deal with things that they never had to deal with before. So that is what this video is going to be about. I know I clickbaited the title just a little bit, and this video is more so going to be me explaining why this is Craig Bellamy's toughest challenge as an NRL coach yet. But guys, before we get any further into the video, please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. This is the home for all your Australian sports and world sporting content heading into 2022, especially if you're a rugby league fan. Comment below whether or not you do agree or disagree with me down below, because that is where you comment. Do the big three. We're going to call it the big three from now on, so I don't have to dribble and tell and explain each of those three items. You know the drill now. You've watched YouTube. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below. And let's get straight into what this video is about. Ever since their introduction to the comp, the Melbourne Storm have proven to be an absolute powerhouse, winning the competition straight away, going on to dominate the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s, as well as the rest of that decade. Obviously, a lot of controversy. The two strip premierships during the salary cap cheating scandal from 2007 to 2010. But outside of that, it has been all smooth sailing thanks to the head coach, the master, and in my opinion, the greatest NRL coach, the greatest rugby league coach, heck, even one of the great coaches in Australian sport history, Craig Bellamy. With the big three by his side, they went on to win countless premierships. 2 actual ones, 4 if you include the stripped ones. But when Slater left, Cooper Cronk would go into some success at the Roosters before Cameron Smith in his final ever game would win the 2020 premiership. And after losing Cronk, losing Slater, it seemed like the Storm had found the correct replacements in Jerome Hughes respectively after Brodie Croft failed. And then the same thing with Hughes before he switched to halfback. He was the main fullback until the emergence of Ryan Papenhuyzen. However, heading into 2021, we sort of had the same thing. Brandon Smith and Harry Grant were both fighting over that number 9 role. And it's honestly unfair. The Melbourne Storm had the best hooker of all time in Cameron Smith, and now they've got 2 of the top 5 dummy halves in the competition in Brandon Smith and Harry Grant. And outside of some early season struggles, losing to Panthers and the Parramatta Eels in the opening 3 rounds of the season, they went on to an incredible winning streak, which was broken by the Eels again. And there was something that started to click when looking at this Melbourne Storm team. Now, it wasn't very much apparent during the early stages of the season because they were adjusting to life without Cameron Smith. However, when they went out in that prelim final to the Penrith Panthers, one thing was very clear. They struggled to win the close games, but you got to think, if they had Cameron Smith, they win pretty much all of those games this year. Cameron Smith, if he was going to play in 2021, we were talking about him joining the Titans, and if that were to happen, that would push them all the way to top 4 contention. So that's the influence Cameron Smith has. In my opinion, he is one of the greatest players of all time, and he's probably the only player to be the unanimous GOAT in his position. But after that 2021 prelim final for his Melbourne Storm teammates that have moved on to life without him, it felt for the first time that they were missing those big 3 players, and Craig Bellamy was struggling to find the next player. And well, after that, things only got worse, and it was probably even worse than losing a shocking prelim final.
Well, just days out from the grand final, the NRL has been rocked by a new scandal. A second video showing Melbourne Storm players partying is now under investigation.
In the initial stages of the off-season, their 2 biggest players, Brandon Smith, who was the best dummy half, picking up the Dally M Hooker of the Year, along with their best player, their new marquee man, Cameron Munster, the second best 5'8" of 2021 and a top 5 player in the competition, were both caught sniffing the fuels in the hotel room because some dog decided to film them. And if that didn't get any worse, Brandon Smith was then in a tell-all interview with YKTR Sports, which ended in more controversy after he said the Sydney Roosters were his dream to play for. He said playing for that team, learning about that team, made him cry thinking about winning a premiership there. But for the first time since their salary cap scandal, it finally feels like there is some controversy and some uncertainty heading into the 2022 season. Brandon Smith has confirmed everyone's suspicions. He's officially going to the Roosters in 2023. They're going to be losing the best dummy half in the competition. Cameron Munster is still openly discussing his future that may or may not include the Redcliffe Dolphins, or as they now are known, the Dolphins, reuniting him with Wayne Bennett, the man who's probably unlocked the best out of Cameron Munster in that 2020 Origin series. And there's also question marks. They've lost their captain, Dale Finucane, who is at the Sharks in order to keep Brandon Smith, who, like I said, is going to the Roosters. And on top of that, they've lost their backup for Pappenhausen, who's been dealing with a lot of concussion issues, as Nico Hines. He is going to play 5'8" for the Sharks, leaving Bellamy and the Melbourne Storm very vulnerable. Now, when I say they might struggle in the clickbaity title of this video, I still mean they're probably more than likely going to make top 4 because, well, let's be honest, finishing outside the top 2 is a disappointment for the Melbourne Storm. They haven't missed the top 2 ever since 2015, and they've only ever missed 2 grand finals since their 2016 loss to the Cronulla Sharks. That is incredible, and like I said, they've lost Slater, Cronk, and then Cameron Smith, the biggest loss of all. But those 3 were so professional for the Melbourne Storm, and we're finally starting to see post-life of that. Even Jerome Hughes' manager has come out and said that he will not opt to re-sign or take up his player option, and instead looks to want a long-term deal at the Melbourne Storm. So coming up this season, dealing with all this controversy, dealing with the loss of even more key players outside the big 3, especially your captain Dale Finucane, especially your most and best player from this season, Brandon Smith. It's going to be a tricky period for the Melbourne Storm. I still think they're going to make top 4. I still think they'll probably even make the prelim final. And only a couple days ago, I predicted on Nick from Australia's Late Show that they would be in the 22 grand final. Thinking about it more, any other team, even the Sydney Roosters, there would be massive question marks. After the controversy they've had, out of the caliber of players who have left, it's going to take something special. And I think the man that's going to be able to keep him inside that top 4 and competing and contending for the premiership is Cameron Munster. He is, like I said, now the number 1 man. And heading into the 2021 season after his 2020 Origin series, I thought he was going to be a weapon. I predicted him for the Dally M, and while that didn't come off, he couldn't even win 5'8" because, well, he had a pretty disappointing year. Nico Hines, Pappenhausen when he was fit, Harry Grant and Brandon Smith, who was the main man, all took over from Cameron Munster. Even his halves partner, Jerome Hughes, was outplaying Cameron Munster in the 2022 season. And it's always felt when Cameron Smith was going to leave after Cronk and Slater already did, he was going to be handed the keys to the kingdom. And while Jesse Bromwich is their captain, I don't think he may be the long-term plan for him, unfortunately. Because Cameron Munster, to anyone watching, is the main man. But after that horrendous suspension because of the off-season incident, it's so up in the air. They're even going to lose Felice Kafusi. He's off to the Dolphins in 2023. So it's going to be a very difficult period for the Melbourne Storm. I'm excited to see what the greatest coach of all time can do, Craig Bellamy. This is going to be his toughest period as an NRL coach. I still think the Storm can maybe contend in 2022. I still think they'll be in the top 4. Them struggling, like I said, is anything below top 2, anything below a minor premiership. They are just that damn good. But we got to be honest. Outside of the Melbourne Storm factor, everything we've seen, if it were to happen to any other club, is telling us that the Melbourne Storm will decline in 2022. Guys, let me know. Do you agree with me, or do you think it's sort of wishful thinking that we may finally start to see Melbourne drop off? It's not just this year, guys. It's for the next couple. This is going to be the biggest challenge of Craig Bellamy's career, and this is why I think the Melbourne Storm may struggle in 2022. A bit of dribble, guys. Another opinion video. I hope you enjoyed. Going to be doing more of these in the future. I'm a bit rusty. Hopefully I can get better at them. But like I said, smash that like button, subscribe, comment down below, do the big three, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.